So first of all, I really do want to thank you for giving me the opportunity for speaking with you today, to once again express my deep appreciation for your generosity. I graduated in 2009 from a very small liberal arts school in Pennsylvania called Swarthmore College. And after 5 years of working as a social worker in Philadelphia, I decided to come back to school, and I am now a first-year law student in the law school. I am not exaggerating when I say that without the generosity of donors like yourselves, I would literally not be standing here today. As many of you know, the legal job market and other financial concerns has really had a negative impact on students deciding to explore the law. But as a disabled student, these concerns are especially acute. And it's my hope that in mentioning a few of the reasons why that is, even if it is a bit mundane, donors like yourselves can truly understand and appreciate the extent to which your gifts are appreciated and enable students like myself to pursue our dreams. So just on a practical level, first, for various reasons, students with disabilities often cannot mitigate the costs of attending school by working while they take classes. So that puts us at a disadvantage. Second of all, we often incur substantial costs over and above those which are contained in standard aid and cost of living calculators. So for me, for instance, the cost of upkeeping technology that I use to access my schoolwork, like what I'm reading from today, that's very significant. In addition, South Bend is in a rural location. Rural locations and disabilities often do not go together very well, unfortunately. So for my particular story, for instance, I have to employ drivers to take me to locations that I could otherwise access on my own in the city. And lastly, as a disabled student, we often cannot make our lives more frugal in the way that it's recommended to graduate students to do. So for instance, again, for me, I use an iPhone. iPhones are relatively on the expensive end as terms cell phones go, but I cannot downgrade to a more practical phone or a plan because this is the only phone that I can use. So the point of, again, telling you all these practical details is to emphasize that every student has a story like mine. Every student's life will be touched by your gift, not only broadly, by allowing him to access education in general, but deeply and personally in the fine-toothed details of his intimate story. Details which often go unspoken and unrecognized, but nonetheless which often are the reasons why he does not pursue education. So this is why, on behalf of all students in situations like myself, I want to thank you again most sincerely for your willingness to help us overcome these obstacles. However, the most important question still remains, why I chose Notre Dame. So I'm sure many of you can empathize with the feeling of being 25 and totally lost. I loved my job. I was working with inner city Medicaid recipients in Philadelphia, but I felt increasingly stymied by the global injustices they faced on a daily basis. And at the same time, I learned more about the genetic condition which caused my blindness. I began to want to know more and to do more regarding bioethical issues, prenatal testing, and the disabled's right to parent. But what I didn't know was how to turn this into a lifelong profession. So it was interesting for me to listen to Brian's speech because my whole life, everyone has been telling me to be a lawyer. And my whole life, I have said absolutely not. So this has been an ongoing argument. So in my bedtime stories, I was always told about lawyers, and I would rail against them as well. So I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to be a psychologist, and I wanted to work with people and change the world. But in 2012, as these interests were growing in my life, I decided to use my summer vacation to go to a conference held by Notre Dame Center for Ethics and Culture, which they held as a 2-week seminar over the summer. And when I decided to do that, everyone, including myself, kind of thought I had gone a little bit crazy. I was using my entire vacation. I had never been to Indiana. I had never even thought about law school. In fact, I had, as I said, actively railed against it. I didn't even know why I came, but I felt really sure that I had to. And I was not disappointed, for it was during those 2 weeks that my next steps were confirmed, and I realized that I would not only go to law school, but I had to do it at Notre Dame. Prior to coming, I really did have a vision of lawyers and law schools kind of similar to what was described. I really did, every lawyer I had interacted with was very defeated, very deflated, and really did not seem happy with what they were doing. Every lawyer in my family, every lawyer I had ever interacted with really seemed like their job was a burden that they carried every day, and it prevented them from really living life. But at Notre Dame, I discovered professors who encouraged students both through their teaching, but more importantly through their personal witness, to use the law primarily as a means of serving others rather than as a means of benefiting oneself. And I will tell you, some of the most wonderful experiences that I have had as a first-year law student have not been about actually learning the law, but when my professors will go on these very extemporaneous, spur-of-the-moment speeches about how they gave up really, really big jobs, jobs in amazing firms, jobs working for presidential administrations, jobs doing things that people who want to be lawyers dream about doing, all for the sake of actually being able to be with their family, or all for the sake of actually to do what they loved, which was teaching the next generation of students. It's extremely inspiring to hear somebody tell you there are things that are more, that to be fully oneself is the most important thing that you can do in life. But I discovered that even then. And I met these same professors. They listened to my interests, and they were genuinely and sincerely excited. They sent me books and articles and connected me with colleagues across the country on these subjects, even though they had just met me. And I met law students and graduates who talked to me about praying together for their clients, about daily mass offered in the law school, specifically for students and faculty and all those touched through their exercise of the legal profession. In sum, I found a place which would feed not only my mind, but my spirit, a place which would form my conscience as well as my intellect, and a place which would connect me not only with lifelong friends, but with indispensable mentors and guides. After those 2 weeks, I now saw the law as an admirably versatile aid that I could employ to remedy any and all of the issues that I cared about most deeply. I can happily say, as I said, that my first impressions have been confirmed time and time again since coming to Notre Dame. I can only imagine what the next 2 years of my life and my entire professional career now hold in store for me as a member of the Notre Dame family. And I want to just thank you once again for helping to make that dream a reality. Thanks so much.